of Cancer Disparities, best known as PCAD, and the Siteman Cancer Center Survivorship Program. My name is Crystal J, and I am one of PCAD's Public Health Research Coordinators, and I'll be your moderator today. Also joining me as a co-moderator is Rochelle Hobson, manager of the Siteman Cancer Center Survivorship Program, and also a registered nurse with over 13 years of oncology experience and holds a master's in nursing. Just a little about PCAD. We focus on strengthening capacities to reduce cancer disparities by working with community organizations, cancer survivors, clinicians, researchers, advocates to enhance education and awareness about cancer risk prevention, community resources, and care centers. Promoting health and wellness for cancer survivors is a big focus for us. And we build our education and awareness around the simple steps to staying healthy that make up our 8 Ways campaign. Our 8 Ways to Stay Healthy After Cancer brochure offers a framework for staying healthy through simple steps like don't smoke and avoid secondhand smoke, exercise regularly, eat a healthy diet, and try to avoid alcohol. Also, maintain a healthy weight, stay connected with friends, families, and other survivors, and stay up to date on your screening tests and regular checkups. So everyone knows eating healthy and reducing stress can be a particular challenging during the holiday season. So we thought, why not offer an event that focuses on healthy eating habits and stress reduction for cancer prevention and survivors through the holidays. During this webinar, we will discuss tasty treats, healthy substitutes when preparing holiday meals, and how to take care of yourself when the holidays are approaching. So for our viewers, we're not able to see or hear you, but we do encourage you to ask questions in the Q&A section. Without further ado, I will now like to introduce our panelists. We have Dr. Jessica Vanderlan, licensed clinical psychologist at Siteman Cancer Center, Kathy Bartholf, licensed clinical social worker in the Division of Oncology at Siteman Cancer Center, St. Peter's, Stacey Brouk, licensed clinical dietitian at Siteman Cancer Center, St. Peter's, and Sarah Hall, breast cancer survivor, certified athlete trainer, and health and wellness coach. Before we begin, I would suggest for everyone to just relax, pull out a piece of paper, and take a few notes. To begin, we'll start with Stacey Brouk. She will discuss how to eat healthy during the holidays. Stacey.
Okay. All right, so we're talking about healthy eating during the holidays. Lots and lots to talk about on this topic, and so we're gonna jump right into it. Let's see, so an overview of the topics today. I want to start out by talking about a cancer protective diet and kind of what we ideally should be doing. Sorry, my screen is jumping on me here. Go back. Okay. So we're going to talk about a plant-based diet to start with. So scientific evidence shows that eating mostly plant-based foods like whole grains, vegetables, fruits, beans, nuts, and so on plays a big role in preventing cancer and contributing to a healthier life. These plant-based foods are high in the types of fiber, nutrients, and phytochemicals that may help to actually prevent cancer. You know, these plant foods may also help with weight management too, so if that's a concern for you, it's certainly a good thing to be eating more of these plant foods. The goal is, there's a lot of confusion about a plant-based diet and what does that really mean. And really for our purposes, the definition would be that we're making at least 2/3 of your plate the plant-based foods, with the remaining 1/3 of your plate, you know, you can still have your chicken or fish or eggs or whatever kind of animal-based protein that you'd like there. And then finally, we want to limit processed foods and added sugars, which unfortunately are kind of everywhere in our diet these days. You know, this diet, we're talking about it for cancer purposes, but it certainly would be a diet that is ideal for most everyone. I won't say everyone because everyone is different, but you know, even if you have diabetes or high cholesterol or different things going on, it definitely could be modified and made appropriate for you as well. You know, during the holidays, this can be a challenge sometimes to follow a perfectly balanced diet. But this is kind of what we would ideally be shooting for. So let's now get into some of the issues that might make it a little more challenging to follow this through the season. Okay. All right, so first off, I want to talk a little bit about stress this time of year. You know, there's a lot of stress with just getting ready for the holidays, whether it's shopping or wrapping or planning meals or whatever the case may be. So depending on who you are, you may react in different ways, but a lot of times that leads to either overeating or undereating. So of course, if you're stressed out and you're overeating and you're going through the bag of potato chips in one setting, that may lead to some unwanted weight gain, which obviously not ideal. You know, the other side is sometimes people get so stressed out that they can't get themselves to eat, which can lead to unwanted weight loss. So that part is especially concerning for anybody that would be going through cancer treatment. So, you know, something that you'd really want to be mindful of either way. So, all right. Oh, okay. Sorry about the slides jumping around there. So what do we do about this? The solution really is to minimize your stress. Easier said than done, of course. But you know, and there's going to be more discussion about this throughout the presentation. So I'm just touching on it a little bit. But you know, maybe to manage stress, you exercise or you write in a journal, call a friend, work on a puzzle, read a book, meditate, kind of whatever works for you. Ideally, avoid turning to alcohol for stress relief. You know, sometimes it's tempting to go home and after a long, hard day and have a glass of wine. That's not the healthiest approach to managing stress. There are extra calories, which is a concern if, you know, if you're trying to keep your weight in check. That's one issue. Alcohol can interact with all sorts of different medications. Chemotherapy is, you know, is certainly not excluded from that. You know, and really any amount of alcohol can increase your risk for cancer. So it would be best to, you know, limit the alcohol intake. You want to pace yourself with your holiday shopping, wrapping, and prep work. Ideally, hopefully you've already started on a lot of this so that you can just do a little bit at a time and not, you know, find yourself Christmas Eve having to do, you know, all of your wrapping and everything last minute. Enlist some help and or reduce your to-do list. So if you've got any family or friends or anybody that can help you out, I mean, certainly not a bad idea to ask for help. Or maybe, I mean, this year, of course, is different for a lot of reasons. Maybe you can kind of cut back on the to-do list a little bit this year and minimize the stress that way. The last one there, minimize time spent cooking, utilize a slow cooker or just following quick, easy recipes that require minimal prep, minimal cooking, because that'll end up saving you some time so you can get some of your wrapping done or whatever it may be, or maybe you can just have a few minutes to relax, which I think everybody needs that as well. Okay. So again, this year is a little bit different. So I'm talking here about social gatherings and some different ways to prevent some unintentional holiday weight changes, whether they're weight gain or weight loss. Social gatherings, of course, you know, some people are doing them and others are not. So this applies maybe to different years a little bit better, but whatever the case may be, whatever you're doing, follow the one plate rule. So fill up your one plate. Once you've had that plate, then be done with it. You know, ideally you can follow the plant-based diet and get about 2/3 of your plate filled up with your fruits, your veggies, the plant-based foods, and then 1/3 of your plate for your animal-based foods. Take a minute, pause, ask yourself if you really want a certain food before you load up the plate, or are you just eating it because you don't want to hurt anybody's feelings because you're not taking it or something along those lines. Remember, it is okay to say, no thanks, I'm full, or can you wrap some up for me so I can take it home and enjoy it later? You know, sometimes we just eat things because we don't want to hurt people's feelings. We want to, you know, let them know that we enjoy the food they prepared and we appreciate the effort that they've gone through. You know, this is especially, I think, challenging for people going through cancer treatment is, I hear it every once in a while where, you know, I don't feel like eating. I just don't have the appetite. Nothing tastes good. But, you know, I know so-and-so spent so much time and effort making this, and they're really pushing me to eat. And so I tried and I ate as much as I could, but then I felt terrible the rest of the day. You know, so if you're a caregiver or you're preparing food for patients that are going through chemo or radiation, and, you know, they don't feel up to eating so much, you know, maybe just let them know, like, it's okay if you don't, you know, you don't eat everything. You know, maybe just, if they're eating small amounts here and there, that might be the best that they can do. So try and keep that in mind. So some other things here, preventing unintentional holiday weight changes. So some balance, make some choices. So do we really need all the starches? You know, do we need the roll, the mashed potatoes, and the stuffing, or can we maybe pick and choose? Sometimes that's a hard decision to make, but you know, it would be worth your while to really think, okay, do I even like stuffing? You know, do I really need that? So same thing with the dessert. Look at, you know, do I want pumpkin pie, pecan pie, or a cookie? Maybe just pick one thing there. Focus on the special holiday foods that you really enjoy, rather than wasting your time with foods you eat all year long. You know, if you have turkey all the time, you know, maybe you don't want to load up so much on that. Maybe you want to eat a little more of those sweet potatoes that you don't have every day. You know, the other thing you can do, start loading your plate with vegetables first, as this will kind of automatically reduce your portions of the other stuff. So you're automatically making some relatively healthier choices throughout. Okay, so we've talked about managing your stress, overeating or undereating, whatever that might look like. We want to also make time for exercise. I say make time because it doesn't just show up. You really have to find a good time for it. You know, it is good stress relief. It can burn at, you know, some of those extra calories, not all of them, but you know, that may help keep weight in check a little better as well. A lot of times in December, especially, it seems like there's a lot of food celebrations, you know, whether it's at work or home or family or friends. So it seems like there's leftovers all the time. There's, you know, candy and extra stuff everywhere. So try not to make that a daily occurrence. If you can freeze your leftovers, put the candy away, you know, out of sight, or give it to friends or family, or whatever you need to do to kind of not be tempted by it every single day. That helps keeping the weight in check too. Making a few healthy swaps, such as opting for water instead of alcohol or sugary beverages. That can save a ton of calories, ton of added sugar. Maybe consider skipping dessert, or if that's not a good option for you, maybe splitting it with somebody else, having a smaller portion if you're going to have it. Okay. Talking a little bit about portion control and moderation. This is good advice for every day, really, but especially helpful during the holidays when we tend to go overboard with a lot of things. So at home, switching to smaller plates. You know, the smaller your plate, the less you're going to be able to put on it. Your portions will automatically be smaller that way. You know, if you're having dessert, try and use like a custard cup, or, you know, something very small, so you can have just a small portion, put the rest of it away. And aside from your vegetables and fruit, try and keep the extra food off the table and out of sight. That way, you know, if you're turning to, you know, you want to get a second helping of something, you really have to make that conscious decision. It's not right in front of you, ready to go. So you have to really think about it first. Okay, a few other tips. Beware of bacteria. So of course this is helpful for everyone, but especially a concern for anyone going through cancer treatment with a, you know, a decreased immune system. We don't need any kind of foodborne illness going on. So make sure your produce is washed really well, your meats are thoroughly cooked, and in general, your food's not sitting out for too long. A lot of times we make all these wonderful foods and then they sit out all day long, and that's not really great when, you know, you go and have leftovers and bacteria city. So Want to eat slowly to help prevent overeating. I also put on here, be careful with spicy foods. And I say that, you know, some people going through cancer treatment, maybe the only thing they can taste are spicy foods, so that could actually be good for them. But for a lot of people, if they're having certain side effects of treatment, like, you know, any mouth sores or acid reflux or diarrhea or taste issues, you know, sometimes the spicy things are not going to be the best. So really, I would say if you are making food for somebody that's going through treatment, maybe just talking to them about what they can and cannot eat at this time, and just be mindful of that so that they can participate safely and comfortably. Okay, so some other holiday meal tips. You know, especially for those going through treatment at this time, it's never a bad idea to bring a dish. If you're having a hard time eating a lot of different foods, you know, and you don't think you're going to be able to eat the traditional stuff that would normally be there, you know, consider bringing something you know that you like and you will be able to eat, and hopefully other people will like it as well. You could always pack some snacks for yourself to eat if you don't tolerate the meal that's offered. You could consider eating before you go. You know, remember the holidays aren't necessarily all about the food. So maybe just knock that out ahead of time and not worry so much about the eating when you're actually there. And again, communicating with the person going through cancer treatment about what tastes good to them, what they tolerate, and so on. I think that's important to keep that communication open. So switching gears here, talking about some holiday baking substitutions. You know, this is where you can take some of your favorite holiday dishes and make them a little bit healthier for you. They're not going to be necessarily health foods at the end of this, but you could swap out an ingredient or two and still end up with a tasty product that has a little more health benefit. So you can kind of look through here, but instead of butter, you know, you can use half of the amount of butter and then use the other half in applesauce or low-fat yogurt. And that can actually work very well in certain baked goods. You know, a lot of your dairy products, if it calls for, you know, a sour cream or a buttermilk, you can always go with a low-fat or fat-free version, and you're not really going to miss out on anything major there. Flour, you can pretty much always use half of it as whole wheat flour, half of it all-purpose flour. That way you're getting a little extra fiber, a little more nutrition there than would otherwise be there. With sugar, a lot of times you could just cut back on the amount. Use maybe a half to 2/3 of the amount that it calls for in the recipe. You know, if it's not sweet enough for you, maybe consider adding some cinnamon, nutmeg, or vanilla extract to make up for it. And that can work pretty well. A lot of times nobody's going to notice if the sugar is cut back a little bit. Egg, you can swap that out for 1/3 of a cup of applesauce, or you can make a little fake egg with chia seeds and water. So of course not for scrambled eggs, but you know, we're talking in baked goods, breads, and things like that. And then frosting, you could use some pureed fruit on top of a cake or a light dusting of powdered sugar, and that's a lot less added sugar than would otherwise be there. So these are just a few. There's a lot of different substitutions out there that you could potentially use and get a little more health benefit out of it. A starting point for you. And then the last little bit here that I'm going to go through, I just have some healthier holiday recipes that are more plant-based, you know, a little bit better options than some of the traditional choices. I do have the source listed at the bottom of each of the recipes. So if you want to go find the original there, but they're pretty much all from the American Institute for Cancer Research. So the cranberry flax pumpkin bread, this one I pulled basically because you get some extra fiber in there with the whole wheat flour and the flaxseed. You could see they reduced the oil a bit and used some applesauce and pumpkin in place of that. So a little more plant, a little less fat. Got some pomegranate salsa here. This one it would be a very pretty dish. It has the Christmas holiday colors in there. Has some red and green as the main colors there with the pomegranate and cilantro. You could do a lot with this, with chicken, turkey, pork chops. You could put it on a salad, all sorts of things that you could do with this one, and it would be very pretty. And that counts. We want pretty food too. All right, and then some maple cayenne pecans. So this would be a nice little snack where you can get some protein, some yummy flavor. Also another plant-based thing. Beats eating the potato chips and processed stuff. And then we've got gingerbread, kind of a traditional holiday bread with lots of spices. This one has some fiber in there from the whole wheat flour, a little less fat by utilizing the applesauce instead of the oil. So another one worth trying there. Got another pretty one here with the Brussels sprout slaw with cranberries and walnuts. Again, you got that red and green going there. Lots of, lots of fiber with the different fruits and veggies in there. I know Brussels sprouts are kind of a controversial one. So if you're not really a fan of them plain, maybe you'd like them when they're dressed up like this. Give it a try. And then we've got the festive tuna roll-ups. A good one for an appetizer where you can get some protein, you get that red and green color again. You got pickles in there, which sometimes works nicely for people that are dealing with taste changes with treatments. I hear that often enough that pickles can help with that. So, that would be the last one I have. So now I'm gonna hand it over to Kathy here. Oops.
Thank you, Stacey, for all the great tips and substitutes. So now we'll hear from Kathy, Bartholf with information on how to take care of yourself during the holidays.
All right. I need my glasses here so I can see. Okay, thank you for the introduction, and thanks, Stacey, for all your great recipes. I'm really looking forward to trying those pecans. I think they were pecans. They sound really good. So let's get back to the beginning here. Oh, sorry, went too far. Here we go. Coping during the holidays. How about that? We all know that holidays are a great time of year. You get to be with your family. You get to be with people that you haven't seen all year. You get to open presents and eat lots of good food. And in years past, at least, everybody would get together and have a good old time. But holidays also can be very stressful. There's a lot of expectations. There's a lot of chores that have to be done and things that have to happen in order for everything to come off the way it's supposed to. And, you know, COVID-19 these days and being diagnosed with cancer, all those things make holidays even more stressful. I think we have very high expectations of all the food that we want to cook and all the gifts we want to buy our kids and our family members and how everybody's going to get along, but it's not always going to go off the way we want it to. You know, the oven's going to break, or you're going to have to stand in line for 3 hours to get that stupid present that your kid wants, or your family's just going to throw down and have big fights. That's just the way it goes. But hopefully we're going to offer you some solutions and some suggestions on how to reduce your stress, even when these things happen, and to increase your coping skills and to survive during the holidays. And the first thing we want to talk about is taking care of yourself, because I think that's the most important thing on the list. But also manage your expectations, plan ahead, establish some boundaries, and avoid the pitfalls. So, taking care of yourself. Going through treatment and the fatigue that it brings and all those weird medications that they give you, like steroids and stuff, all of that can alter our emotions and energy levels. And these changes could really affect some changes in mood. You can be feeling anxious or nervous or apprehensive or worried. Your diagnosis might present challenges that you haven't had to confront in a public setting. You may be having bowel issues and need more time in the bathroom, or might be deconditioned and feel you just can't get up the steps at your family member's house. You also might be feeling depressed or sad, or be experiencing the loss in some regular activities. This might be your favorite time of year, and you might feel like it's passing you by. Some of you might have been told that your disease is not curable, or that it's in its final stages, and you might be afraid that this Christmas will be the last one that you'll be able to celebrate with your family, and you want to really make it perfect. You could also be grieving or feeling sad. And there's a whole host of things that go into that. You can be grieving that your new normal is not what you had hoped. You know, they always talk about your new normal when you get diagnosed with cancer, and sometimes it's really not as good as the old normal. You might be grieving for family members who are no longer with you. And I think everybody is grieving about how our world has changed due to COVID, and how holiday celebrations might have to be different this year. We want to encourage you to acknowledge these feelings. They're all legitimate, and they're all felt by somebody or all of us at one time or another. And you may be feeling all of these emotions along with some joy and happiness. It doesn't have to be just one thing. When you're feeling anxious or depressed or grieving, I think it helps to talk to someone. And I think it's helpful to identify ahead of time family members that you feel you could confide in and who would listen to you. This could be your spouse, or your sibling, or your caregiver, or a good friend, or somebody else entirely. If your situation gets overwhelming, take a breather. And you can do this in a variety of ways. You could journal. And journaling is just getting your thoughts down on paper. It's been shown to boost mood, to enhance our sense of well-being, and to improve memory. You don't need a big fancy journal with embossed things on the outside and fancy paper, although you can certainly do that if you want to. Any kind of paper will do. You can use one of your kids' school notebooks, or some giveaway that you got from the grocery store or something. Sometimes a standard 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper just seems incredibly overwhelming, and you think, I don't know what I'm going to put on that piece of paper. Start with something small, a smaller notebook. Most people have enough thoughts to fill up, 3.5 by 5 sheet of paper. You could keep your journal on your computer if you want to. If you're looking for prompts about what to write, you can always just do a running dialogue of your day. You can talk about something that's bothering you, or you can write about something that's bothering you. You can make a list of everything you would like to say yes to. You could write 3 things every day that you're grateful for, or you could write about a time when you couldn't stop laughing. And if you need more inspiration, you can always Google journaling. There are tons and tons and lists of things that you can journal about. You can practice mindfulness and meditation. Dr. Vanderlan is going to talk about that, so I'm going to leave that one alone, but I think that's a good way to reduce your stress. You could read a book. I think books are a wonderful way to take you to another place in time if you want to get away. I know the library in my community has been open and closed and open and closed and drive-by and no returns and all kinds of stuff. But most libraries these days have digital options. You can sign in with your library card and then check books out on your computer, or read them on your phone. Or my favorite is to listen to them on headphones while I do the dishes. Sorry, missed that slide there. The other thing you could do is explore some sites on the internet. My manager sent out this website called explore.org, and it is a ton of video cams. Some are in nature, some are in preserves, some are just looking at the ocean. You can watch bears and alligators and dogs and cats. I just really like the pandas at the Happiness Village Baby Panda Park. They're really slow, but they're very adventurous, and they're very calming. So I suggest you watch baby pandas, but you can pick whatever you want. But my coworker did tell me not to watch the grizzly bears because she was afraid that the camera guy was going to get eaten. So that probably wouldn't decrease your stress. You can watch YouTube videos. I'm partial to the videos of babies laughing and of dogs being reunited with their owners, but you pick what works for you. They also have lots of videos, and videos are, music videos, and music is a great way to change your mood, I think. One other site is windowswap.com. If you wanted to get out of town and see some new sites, but you can't this year, you can always try this site. People film the view out of their window and then upload it onto this site. And I found one in the Netherlands with 2 cats looking over a very nice green courtyard. I found one in Australia that overlooks this huge ocean. Don't know which ocean that is, but it's very nice. And then there's one in Scotland that looks out over a public square. If you think at any point that these feelings are going to overwhelm you, or if you think you can't cope with them on your own, please seek professional help. If you already have a relationship with a mental health professional, get in touch and ask for help. If you don't have a mental health professional that you have a relationship with, you can call your doctor and ask for a referral. You can call your insurance company and ask for who they cover. Or you can contact the Behavioral Health Response Crisis Hotline. They're open 24/7 every day of the year. Their number is 800-811-4760. If you are thinking about harming yourself or hurting yourself or killing yourself, or if you're thinking about suicide, please call 911 for emergency assistance or go to the nearest emergency room. One way to deal with the holidays is to manage your expectations and know what's going to happen ahead of time. We can't always control what happens, but we can at least think about it. Consider ahead of time the differences that this year may bring. Local ordinances are different all over Missouri, not to mention other states, about how you can travel and when you can travel, and do you have to quarantine and do you not quarantine. So you may have to change the way that you interact with your family this year. The downside is that you might not be able to be in the same house or even in the same state, but on the positive side, today's digital age offers you a world of opportunities to maybe use Zoom or FaceTime or Skype or even a phone call, or I think I've seen advertisements for those little things through Amazon that you can use. Consider some of those options. You might not feel that you can participate in the same way that you did in the past due to your health issues. Spend a little bit of time thinking about that day and what challenges you might face since you've been diagnosed, and plan ahead. Maybe mornings aren't good for you, but you perk up in the afternoon, or maybe you were a really late sleeper and just don't get started till evening. Maybe you don't feel like you could handle a whole day of activity, but maybe you could go for a limited amount of time. And if you do get together with your family, do you need some kind of accommodations? Do you need to have them leave you a spot in the driveway so that you can park there, or something else? Also consider what you need to change this holiday season for you to be safe and healthy, and use this as an opportunity to create new traditions and memories. I've seen many creative solutions when people couldn't gather, like drive-by birthday parties, and maybe you could do something like a drive-by contactless cookie exchange if you're not feeling safe gathering, or maybe a short gathering outside with plenty of blankets and heaters. And accept that everything will not be perfect. Sorry, I'm having a hard time here. Plan ahead. Organizing ahead of time can reduce stress. Making a list will help you plan your time. What tasks need to be accomplished? When do they need to be accomplished by? Who's going to accomplish the task? Be realistic. Decide which of those tasks that you yourself can accomplish and which you may need to ask someone else to do. Prioritize your list. Some tasks will be more important than others. You might be one of those people that loves to wrap Christmas presents, and you get the exact right paper with the exact right ribbon, and you put those little thingies on the top, you know, Christmas decorations or big fat bows that you make or something. Maybe you can do that this year, maybe you can't. Maybe you need to cut back a little bit. If you can't accomplish all your tasks, ask for help. And if you're going to go someplace, plan what you're going to need for emergencies. Do you need to take extra clothes? Do you need to take pain medications? Do you need to take your wheelchair and your walker just in case? Establish some boundaries. And by that, I mean separating yourself and what you're responsible for from other people and what they're responsible for. Because while you're making your list, your family might be making their own list, and they may have assigned you a bunch of tasks that you don't really feel like you can do this year. Feel free to say no. Or you can use a softer alternative like, oh, I'm sorry, but I can't this year, or that's not going to work for me. You do not have to give a detailed explanation. You, in fact, don't have to give an explanation at all as to why you can't do these things. You just need to do what is right for you. Avoid the pitfalls of the holiday season. I think most holiday pitfalls can fall into one of three categories: either miscommunication, physical distress, or overspending. So miscommunication, be honest with your family. If you're unable to participate in some way, just let them know. If you don't feel comfortable telling everyone, pick a relative or a friend or someone who can help you communicate the details. I know it gets so tiresome answering the same questions over and over and over, and everybody wants everything from the horse's mouth. And I'm sure that people who've been diagnosed with cancer get tired of saying those things. Your friends can help you, or whatever relative you choose can help you spread the news if you don't want to keep repeating yourself. Or you can use caringbridge.com. That's a website that you can set up, and you give people a password and they can go in and they can read everything that you've written up there, or that someone else has put up there for you. Decide ahead of time what kind of information about your diagnosis you would like to share. You are not obligated to tell them anything, really, but you could give broad strokes if that's what your preference is. You might not want to give the details. You might want to share what kind of cancer you have, but you might not want to really go into a lot of details on the side effects, or the other way around. If you don't want to answer anything, you can always say, I would rather not talk about that right now, or you could say, I would rather focus on today. You know, there's a lot of intimate body parts that we really don't feel comfortable talking about in public sometimes, and it's okay not to have to talk about them. If you're planning to gather in person, discuss your feelings about COVID-19 and other transmittable diseases with your family. Are you comfortable gathering and not wearing a mask? Are you comfortable gathering, but you want everybody, including your other family members, to wear a mask? Or do you feel like this is really just too risky for you right now and you need to stay home this year? Physical distress. Stacey touched a lot on this and had some really good suggestions. Pay attention to your limits and pace yourself. Avoid foods that are going to make you feel uncomfortable, and it's okay to say no thank you. If you're afraid that you won't be able to eat anything that's being served, take your own food with you. It's like Stacey said, it's not all about the food. Also, check with your doctor first to see if they recommend that you drink alcohol, and even then, stick to your very limited limits. I don't think excess alcohol makes anything better during the holidays. Get some exercise as you are able. You can do some gentle stretches or a walk, or maybe some yoga. If you search on YouTube for seated yoga, you can get some really beginner routines that you can do from a chair. If you're feeling a little more adventurous, you can go to yogawithadrian.com. There are some more extended routines and more traditional yoga on the floor type stuff. And in the end, if you get tired, take a nap. I love taking naps. That's the joy of my Sundays, to tell you the truth. Overspending. I think we are all at risk of overspending during the holidays. But if you've been diagnosed with cancer, you probably are facing some financial challenges already. We all know that medical treatment is expensive. And if it's not a copay for a doctor visit, it's a copay for a medication, or it's a copay for a test. If you've been caught up in COVID-19 and shutdowns and layoffs, that may have only added to your burden. So really resist the urge to overspend during the holidays. It's not going to improve your financial situation, but hopefully it won't make it any worse in the end. You could offer homemade gifts. Doesn't cost a lot of money to bake bread or cookies. You can see if you can convince your family to draw up names for a gift exchange, so that if you have 8 brothers and sisters and their wives and their kids, maybe you only have to buy for one small portion of the family instead of everybody. Or you could decline to exchange gifts at all. You don't have to. In summary, give yourself permission to do what you need to do to stay healthy physically and emotionally. Be patient with yourself, and remember that you are the expert on you. I think I have to give the screen back to somebody. Give remote control. There we go.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you for sharing. So we're going to switch gears a little bit. As Kathy stated, she stated one way to relieve stress is to practice mindfulness. So next we'll hear from Dr. Vanderlan, and she's going to give an example of a mindfulness activity.
Great. Thank you everyone so far for your presentations. You have so many great ideas. I think we could spend all afternoon on any 1 or 2 of those. I today, or this morning, am going to do a brief mindfulness exercise with you. As Kathy mentioned, that is a great way to manage stress. The goal, unfortunately, is not to get rid of stress, but to help you manage it. And we know that holidays are full of stress. Mindfulness has been shown to reduce anxiety and depression, to increase serotonin, to improve blood pressure even. So there are so many great benefits to mindfulness. If you have not tried it before, welcome. I'm glad you're going to try it with us today. If you have tried it, this is a good time to continue. Don't let a habit fall to the side right now in a time of stress. Make sure that you're taking time for yourself to do this. If you like what we do today, if you like what I present to you, there are so many great sites for mindfulness. You can just Google mindfulness meditation and videos come up, or scripts come up, apps come up. There's so much available to you, and I really encourage you to try it if you have not already, or to continue if you typically do this. So we're going to do a brief exercise for relaxation, basically. Again, it's not that I can take away your stress, but we're just helping you get through it. So I'm asking everybody, just begin by taking a deep breath and hold it for a few seconds. So breathe in and exhale and relax. Take another deep breath, as deep as you can, filling your belly. Hold it in. And then as you exhale, just imagine blowing out all of your stress. And then take a third deep breath, hold it in. And again, as you exhale, blow out any stress, anything you've been holding on to, saying to yourself, relax now. I want you to remember that just 3 deep breaths does help to calm our body and calm our mind. So again, this is not a solution to stress, but something you can do anywhere. If you're waiting in line, take those 3 deep breaths. When you breathe out, you can even make noise if you're if you're feeling comfortable doing that in public or wherever you are. It's okay, but 3 deep breaths actually does slow down part of our body and help to relax us. So now that we've done that, we're going to move on to a body scan. So this is a bit longer, so get comfortable in your seat, and I ask you to close your eyes if you can, if you're comfortable. If you don't want to close your eyes, just make sure that you're not distracted by things around you. Maybe a soft gaze downward or at the bottom of the screen or in your lap. And if you're seated, sit in a comfortable position. Make sure that you're supported by a chair, something's behind your back, under your bottom, maybe your feet are planted on the floor, and your hands resting in your lap. Now go ahead, like I said, and close your eyes and let your body settle into your seat. I'd like you to start by focusing on the sensations at the top of your head. Just notice how your head feels. And now let your focus move down to your eyes. Again, just notice how your eyes feel and ask them to relax even more. The little movements in our eyes is completely normal, and these small movements actually allow us to feel calm. Now notice the back of your head. If it's resting on a chair or a surface, notice that support. It's just rested on top of your shoulders. Notice how heavy it feels, how solid it feels. And now moving to your nose. Feel slight sensations of the air moving in and out with your breath. When you breathe in, imagine you're being filled with calmness. And when you breathe out, imagine your body feels heavy and relaxed. Now focusing on your ears. Notice how they feel, what they hear around you, either in the room where you are or over this presentation. Try to hear and notice every single noise. The goal is not to block out noise, but to notice it. And now noticing and focusing on the sound of my voice. If you find your mind wander as I walk you through this exercise, that is completely normal. And just bring your attention back to my voice. You can do that time and time again. Now focusing on your mouth. How does it feel? Or what do you notice? Maybe you can taste the flavor of something you recently tasted or ate. And now move your focus down to your neck. If there's any tension, just ask it to release a bit. Notice if your neck feels tight. Notice how it feels right now. We hold a lot of tension in our neck and shoulders. Again, ask it to release a little bit more. Now focus on your shoulders and move your attention down your arms, all the way down to your fingertips. What are your fingertips touching right now? Feel that sensation on your fingertips. Allow your focus to go to your chest, relaxing this area as well as your upper back. And again, if you notice any tension, just ask it nicely to release. Now imagine you're focusing on your heart and feeling it beating strongly, supporting you. Relax your heart and chest and notice how good it feels to do that. Now notice your lower back, how it may be pressing against the surface or how it's keeping you sitting up tall. Again, if you feel tension here, which is completely normal, see if you can let it relax a little bit. Ease some of that tension. Now allowing our focus to move down each leg. Slowly relaxing your legs as well. Your legs have been taking you many places over the years and deserve to fully relax. Notice this wonderful wave of relaxation moving down to your knees, down your legs, all the way to your feet, even the tips of your toes. You relaxed your whole body. Nice job. From now on, you're choosing to be relaxed. Not always easy, but you can choose to feel this. You can choose to feel calm. You can choose to be in control of all you do because your health is important to you. You can choose to use some of these tips we talked about today. You can choose to think about and plan ways to take care of yourself this holiday. Remember, it's actually natural for us to be happy and healthy and content. Couple statements you might use for yourself. Just repeat these in your head. In order to make change, I challenge myself. When I have a negative thought, I acknowledge it and acknowledge that I feel this way and then release it. When another negative thought arises, I quickly catch it and I say with confidence, I acknowledge that part of me feels this way, but this thought does not help me right now. Whenever I am presented with feelings of stress, I know my breath is there to soothe me and guide me into relaxation. Now notice how you feel in this moment. Take note of how you feel right now. And take another full, deep breath. And again, exhale any tension. I invite you to take this state of calmness or relaxation with you the rest of the day. But for now, coming back to our session, blinking, open your eyes slowly, adjusting in your chair again. Thank you all. So that was a brief mindfulness exercise. Like I said, if it's something you enjoy, there's plenty of them out there. You can search and find some. But remember to take those 3 deep breaths at any point, multiple times a day if you need, just to relax your nervous system, basically. All right, thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Vanderlan. Now we will hear from Sarah Hall, who is a breast cancer survivor. She also mentors newly diagnosed women through a nonprofit called Faith Through Fire and has a podcast called Besties with Breasties with its founder, Beth Wilms. In her coaching business, she loves to help transition women from active treatment into life of survivorship. She has 2 daughters, 6 and 2, and loves running and taking care of her plants. Now we'll hear from Sarah.
Hi, everyone. I'm really relaxed now. Thank you, Jessica. I wanted to share a little bit more about my story. I was diagnosed with DCIS when I was 31 weeks pregnant with my second daughter. I had her at 35 weeks and underwent a single mastectomy 2 weeks later after I had her. Just to give you a little context on kind of how potentially stressful my cancer diagnosis was, I added a pregnancy on top of it. So I did find out that I had invasive ductal carcinoma after I had my mastectomy, and so was considered stage 1 at that point and had 4 rounds of chemo. I did decline radiation, but I continue hormone therapy to this day. I chose to do a prophylactic mastectomy on the other side and then did reconstruction, bilateral implant reconstruction. I have a 3-year-old and I have a 6-year-old. She's almost 3 now. I have a almost 3-year-old and a 6-year-old. Before I was diagnosed, I was an athletic trainer and really felt a calling to help people just live the most healthy life that they could and help in whatever way my education could help them. If that was through movement or if that was through breath work. I actually also do breath work with first responders, with yoga for first responders. I'm very busy. And so any way that I can help people, I feel like I'm always called to do that. And the cancer journey really just drove home the point that I needed to help women, and it brought me to Beth Wilms, and being a mentor through her program has been really rewarding for me, but it has also been really nice to see other women thrive, because I also had mentors that helped me thrive. So now with coaching, I take women and help them make mindset shifts and also help them create little behavior changes that help them live happy, healthy lives and potentially even feel better than they did before diagnosis. So I was asked to talk about how I told my family about diagnosis, and you know, there really isn't, we created a whole podcast around this, but there isn't really a secret sauce to how I did it. I think everybody does it differently. It just depends on your comfort level and how you are with your support systems. And I was very open. I came right out and told my family. There were a few people that I was a little afraid to say the C word, because it just comes with a lot of emotion that I wasn't ready to help somebody else deal with when I was still dealing with my own. So that was a little bit difficult, but for the most part, I just told everybody. I ended up starting a blog during my whole journey, so people could go read about it. I know there are sites that you can update and give people access to them so that specific people can read it, but I thought I'll just share it with the world. Why not? As far as my support system is pretty strong. My husband's a firefighter, so that is a whole fire family that we have. So they were bringing us meals throughout chemo treatments and surgeries, and I highly recommend for all the women that I mentor now that they find their pack of people that they can count on for child support if they need that for kid care, or if they need meals brought to them, or if they just need somebody to do their laundry because that's what's causing them stress in the moment. Naming those people and getting them in their corner is super, super important, I think. And I had so many of those people with strong friendships, and then the fire family, like I talked about. For as far as resources, there are a lot of resources around St. Louis, and we help women with Faith Through Fire find those resources, whether it's a therapist, a counselor, or if they need a recliner after surgery. Whatever they need, we get them connected with the right resources. The resources that I used were mostly the support of other people. I'm very relational and I really like to talk to people. I met so many women when I was going through treatment. I got involved in different Facebook groups to just ask questions like, who's been on this drug, and what was this like, and tell me about what this was like going through it, and also being postpartum. There are women out there who've been through it all. So one of my biggest mentors and supporters was my aunt-in-law. She's actually my husband's aunt. She is a 20-year survivor. I knew her and we were close before, but we became so much more close throughout my treatment because we ended up having the same cancer, and we were on the same drugs, and I could lean on her and call her in those moments when I was spinning out, like, oh my gosh, I didn't consider how this was going to affect my life. And she could talk me off the ledge. Like, here I am, a 20-year survivor now, and look at my life. It's fine. And this isn't affecting me every single day. So it was really, really, really beneficial for me to lean on somebody who had been there and who I could look to for hope for the future. So that was really, really helpful. And it doesn't really require much of anything as far as tangibility. It didn't require financial assistance. It didn't require somebody to buy me anything or me to buy anything. All it required is me to have a connection with somebody. So a phone call, being available for somebody. So I think that should be said, because I think a lot of times you're just like, what can I buy this person to help them out? And it's not always about that. Sometimes it's just saying, what do you need right now? Do we need to cry together? Do you need us to leave you alone? You just be able to communicate exactly what you need. I think a lot of, and I'm sure a lot of people's journey, you guys have touched on the financial burdens that any kind of health diagnosis comes with, but I was lucky to have had a really good flex spending account and really good insurance, which helped take the burden off of me working. And then my husband with his job was able to also be there for a lot of what my treatment required. So that was really, really helpful. And it took a lot of the mental burden off me. So I didn't have to plan, okay, I have to work this day. How am I going to feel? And worry about what my vacation I had left. And we had very supportive jobs that were there for both of us. He even had fire guys who came in and just said, I'm working for you. You don't have to work today. So we really have a huge support network. So I was very blessed in that manner. How my diet has changed. So this is probably the big part about, what Stacey talked about with nutrition, and especially around the holidays. My diet has changed a lot. So since I have been diagnosed, I was always health conscious as far as what I ate, but I had been off and on gluten-free for a couple of years and noticed some pretty big changes within me. The summer of 2019, so this was a year out from my diagnosis, I noticed some pretty big health changes, and it brought me to functional medicine, and it brought me to where I am eating now. Functional medicine, I'm going to give just a little bit of history on it, just for anybody who has never heard of it or hasn't looked into it. It's a patient-centered approach to answering your questions about why are you ill. And it's a way to manage and sometimes reverse chronic disease. So they look at your entire lifestyle, your habits, what you eat. They look at, the way you live, and they take into account a full assessment of the person. And they come up with a holistic treatment plan. So I had found functional medicine through somebody that I had known through the job that I had before, and started listening to a podcast and was really clicking with a lot of things that they said about using nutrition to fix the way you feel. And it really resonated with me. So I looked into it. The Cleveland Clinic back in 2014 They were the first academic medical facility in the country to establish a dedicated functional medicine program. And it's actually headed up by Dr. Mark Hyman, and he's a board certified functional medicine doctor. And he's got a great podcast. If you are into podcasts and are looking for something, The Doctor's Pharmacy, and it's spelled Pharmacy, is really, really great to listen to. But I started diving into a lot of the information. In the summer of 2019, I found myself feeling completely not like myself, like disconnected from the personality that I had before. I was suffering from some pretty dark emotional thoughts. I had never sought any kind of mental health in the past. And so at that time, I got connected with a counselor, and I started seeing a functional medicine doctor, and found myself in an elimination diet where I was taking out a lot of things. And it was only 20 days, which was it's so short to think about like how fast that elimination diet went. And in 20 days, I had all of my symptoms went away. I found myself eating a diet that resembled keto. So I was not, I had eliminated sugar, and I was really tracking my carbs. The weight started falling off. I was really mentally struggling with, I was still holding on to my pregnancy weight and the weight that I had put on from all the steroids I was on, and chemo and everything that comes with that, and all the cravings with carbs. So all of that started to go away. My insomnia started to dissipate, and then all of the dark thoughts just kind of cleared up. It was pretty miraculous. So today, a year after, I've held steady at a weight that I'm happy with. I'm not as strict with my diet anymore, and I loved what my doc said going into Thanksgiving. When I was planning for the holidays, like she said, 2020 has been rough, and you're not, eat something that that you want to eat. Just eat it. Like, it's going to be okay. You're going to survive. So I think that I'm a lot more kind with myself these days as far as, what I allow myself to eat, but it does still take some planning on my part. Through my journey, I have found that I have some pretty big inflammatory reactions to tomatoes. So sad, no salsa for me, and dairy. And I also stay away from any kind of like estrogen affecting foods, such as like soy and tofu. I choose organic as much as I possibly can, and then really stay away from heavily processed foods, which can be a struggle when you have 2 small kids. So, really I've chosen to marry the functional medicine with my traditional. I still see my medical oncologist. I still am on hormone therapy, but I think what is really cool is that in my back pocket, I have this provider that I can turn to, when I say I'm struggling with whatever GI issue or insomnia, what can I do to fix this without having to say, oh, you have to go take another pill, you have to go do this. I can fix what I can fix within me first before I reach out to get something else. So it's a really good tool to have in my back pocket. And it's also empowered me in a way that I feel like I have control over my health. And that's really, I think that's been the most powerful part for me. And it's something that I pass on to my clients too, that our health is within our own hands and we get to make the choices. So how do I eat around the holidays? The holidays are getting easier and easier. I think my family is accepting the way that I eat. Even this year, they're like, oh, I left the butter out of this. So this is, you can eat this. I brought Brussels sprouts cooked in bacon. And what do you know? The only thing that was really gone at the end of both of the Thanksgivings that I had was all my Brussels sprouts. So I think that they eventually start to catch on to the yummy food that you actually can bring to the table. I have found some special wine that I have that has fermented out the majority of the sugar. It also doesn't come with any preservatives in it, which the cool thing about that is you don't have any hangovers from it. Don't have no hangovers. You have way less hangovers. So I also do allow myself to have like chocolate treats, and it's fun to experiment with some new recipes. This year I made a vegan cheesecake, and it was peanut butter chocolate, and everybody who tried it loved it. It wasn't your traditional pecan pie or your pumpkin pie, but it was definitely really, really rich and delicious. So I wanted to share a few of my tips with you for just eating in general. I like fasting, so having a cutoff time. I don't eat anything after 7 o'clock, which really helps with, those 8 o'clock, the kids are in bed, I want a bowl of ice cream kind of cravings. It's nice to say, nope, I'm done for the day. And then I get to start again fresh the next day. So that's something that's been really helpful for me. I drink, when we go out to restaurants, I'll order sparkling water, and I'll have it in a wine glass or a fancy cup. So it cuts out on wine calories, and it cuts out on, the expensive alcohol is really expensive. I drink a lot of hot tea. There's a lot of benefits to tea, green tea. I drink black tea if I need a little bit of energy, but there's all kinds of healing teas out there. Along the tea line is I also drink kombucha, and I drink it in a wine glass when with dinner. It kind of feels like a treat. It's got gut healing benefits, and it feels like I'm having a glass of wine with dinner. I keep easy meals around all the time in the freezer with kids. I think this is especially important, and a husband who has shift worked. He's gone 48 hours at a time. So it's nice to keep something that, I think I'm going to eat pizza for dinner, and I've got a healthy option. I usually keep a cauliflower crust pizza around, so it's easy for me to come up with healthy options really quickly. I think this is the biggest one. As soon as I buy vegetables, I cut them up when I get home from the grocery store and keep them in my refrigerator. It's a lot easier to choose something if I'm eating a snack right this second. I have 5 seconds to eat, and I'm not going to choose the chips because my cucumbers are already cut up. So it's nice. Sometimes you just put those in your little vegetable drawer, and then they go bad, and you've now wasted food, and you probably didn't eat great. So those are my little tips and tricks. How I relieve stress. I thought really long about what I wanted to say here, and I could go for the typical, like I do run and I do yoga, and those are really great ways to relieve stress. But I think the overall foundation of how I relieve stress is I take care of myself. I intentionally choose things that are like self-fulfilling. As a mom, I think we put ourselves on the back burner until they go to bed. And sometimes it's okay if you choose for them to be occupied with something while you go take a shower and do a face mask, or, cook yourself dinner and sit down for a minute, and, you can say no to them needing a snack. So just being intentional about the work that I do for myself. I do foam roll. I have regular chiropractic visits. I think this is a fun one. I buy local a lot of the time. So I will, I like to support local craft vendors and anybody who's selling clean makeup or, Norwex, whatever. I like to support people, and I like to keep it within my community and my people. It makes me feel good. And I feel like it's a self-care kind of thing. In summary, I just think listening to your body, getting screened regularly, and taking action and intentional action on your health is important all the time. It doesn't matter if it's in the middle of a pandemic or if it's around the holidays. It should be something that's ongoing all the time. So thank you for having me.
Thank you, Sarah, for sharing. I also want to thank the rest of the panelists. Thank you for taking time out of your day to come and share. We will now answer your questions. As a reminder, please type your questions in the Q&A box below. I'm turning it over to you, Rochelle.
Thank you so much. Thanks, all of the panelists. I mean, this is such a tough time during the holidays, and then you add on, COVID, being in the middle of a pandemic, and then any of the social issues that we can talk about. So it's just so nice to hear all of these tips and tricks. And, I think it was Kathy that said it might not be perfect this year. And I think that's okay, right? To give ourselves permission to not be perfect, but to be present and be in the moment. So just such a wonderful job from everybody, and such great information. And Sarah, I mean, wow, to hear your story and how you take care of yourself. So at this time, we'd like to open it up to any questions. You can type those in the Q&A if you have them. And so we'll give you a minute to do that. I do have one question. So it says, there's just so much, to do during the holidays. How can you deal with some of the stress, like gift giving, cooking, and all these expectations when you feel tired and anxious? And I don't know, If anybody wants to tackle that question, any tips?
I'll start. So I think it goes back to expectations. You know, maybe for whoever asked that question, maybe you're not going to do all of those things this year. And again, that goes back to it not being perfect. I think it's okay that any holiday is not perfect, especially this year, especially when dealing with cancer as well. So maybe it's finding people who can support you in those things. Are there people in your family or friends that can cook for you? That instead of you making a dinner, can somebody else help you with that? We talked about homemade gifts. There's a lot of stress that goes into giving the perfect gift. Often it's the thought that counts. You know, maybe it is something homemade and that just says, I love you, I care about you. And it doesn't have to be the perfect gift. So I think it goes back to those expectations, which Kathy brought up, I think.
I also think, again, take a nap. If you're tired and overwhelmed and you feel like you can't get all this stuff done, take care of your most immediate need first, which is, are you tired? Are you hungry? Are you hot? Are you cold? Once you fix those things, sometimes the rest of it just kind of falls into place.
Great, thank you. We have another question here. It says, what alternatives can you use instead of all-purpose flour for those with celiac disease? That's a great question.
I love almond flour. I use almond flour all the time.
Almond flour, that's a good one. Stacey, do you have any additional?
Yeah, I would agree with that. That's probably a good option. I mean, there's a lot of different gluten-free flours out there. Find something that you like. It'll take a little experimentation to really figure out what works well for you. But once you find something you like, stick with it.
Okay. I have another question here. Let's see, my wife is receiving chemotherapy for breast cancer, and I know the holidays are hard. Do you have any suggestions as to what I can do to help her? It's a great question. Anybody have any ideas on this one?
Well, I think from my perspective, ask what you can do to help. Nobody that I know of can really read minds, so ask what you can do, and then do it. Don't offer if there are boundaries that you're not willing to cross. If you are not doing the laundry no matter what, then don't ask, because that's only going to make the situation worse. Sarah, you probably have a better perspective on that. What would you have wanted someone to do?
I mean, being asked, how could I do this better? What would make you feel? I mean, that in itself is a gift.
Recognizing that the person asking was asking about how to care for their wife. You know, I don't know that person, but often women are not very good at accepting help or asking for help. So it may take more than a question of how can I help you? Rather, it might be, can I make sure that we have dinner tonight? Or can I take over the laundry for you? Or can I, and be very specific with some suggestions, and maybe talk to a friend or another family member who knows that person well to figure out what she might need.
I think another suggestion that I'd like to put out there is, you know, sometimes we ask, and like Jessica alluded to, people may say, well, they don't necessarily want to say those things. So if there are things that you know this individual does by just doing them, instead of saying, can I prepare or can I make sure we have dinner here tonight, just because, again, it takes the pressure off of feeling like, you know, you're asking someone to do something out of their comfort zone. So it's another great option, is to just do it. Okay, we have another question here. Was just diagnosed with cancer and can't help but wonder what my life will be like next year. What should I do? It's a great question, especially during the holidays when you don't know how to approach that.
I can make a suggestion. I think I think when I look back on what each day felt like after I was diagnosed and going through treatment, I think what stands out the most to me is in every situation when I lost my hair and when I went through a summer and I had to wear a prosthetic all summer. In each situation, I found exactly what I wanted to be grateful for. I was grateful for my runs and I didn't have to worry about tying my hair up or my hair hitting my back, or I was grateful that when I went to the beach, it was a private beach and I didn't have to worry about anybody judging the fact that I only had one breast in my swimsuit. Like, you find in each situation along your journey and it puts you in the there and now. And then when you look back a year from now, those are the things that you're going to remember.
I agree. Focusing on gratitude and what you're grateful for is a great strategy for anybody dealing with something stressful, a great habit to get into. It's also okay to recognize that this might be one of the hardest parts of your cancer experience. Just being diagnosed and not knowing what to expect is really difficult. For human beings, the unknown is one of the most challenging experiences that we have in life, whether it be cancer related or not. Just this complete unknown and worry can be really overwhelming. I also recommend that you recognize that it's not the new normal. So this is a phase of something. We don't know what the new normal is, but however you're feeling right now is going to be different than what it feels like next year or next month. And there's also a lot of people to help you. So finding that support system, reaching out to mental health care. I treat a lot of people with anxiety related to cancer. You might not have experienced anxiety before, but now it's normal too. So there are a lot of people to support you too.
Thank you. I have another question for the panel. I was diagnosed with cancer this year and I don't really feel like celebrating the holidays. How can I tell my family this and not be a total downer to my entire family? It's a tough one.
I think ultimately you need to do what is best for you. And I think you can give your family a little bit more credit. I think saying, this is my situation, I'm going through treatment, I can't participate the way I have in years past, maybe I can next year, but right now I just can't do this. And I don't think anybody is going to blame you or make you feel like you're the party pooper if you can't do all this stuff. And if they do, that's their problem, not yours. I don't think that saying that you can't participate in something is the end of the world.
Yeah.
It's okay and natural to not feel like celebrating. That's okay. And somebody brought it up earlier. Maybe there's another family member or friend that you can put in charge of some of these conversations. You know, you might not have to have the conversation 10 times over, but have it with one person and ask them to help you in communicating that so you don't have to take that conversation on so many times.
Oh, sorry, I have another. I thought I clicked it. So the next question that is on the Q&A is, what are some good gifts for a person going through treatment? It's a good question. Do we have anyone who wants to tackle this one? Sarah, I see your.
I've had people do it a lot of different ways. It very much probably depends on the kind of cancer that they have. Specifically to breast cancer, like wedge pillows, soft cozy blankets. I had somebody, which was so helpful. She had a lot of people asking her, what can we get you? And they wanted to support by getting her gifts. And she made an Amazon wish list and then just sent the link to everybody. And it made it, she was like, every day was like Christmas. I could have had a crappy doctor's appointment, but I got home, I had like 5 packages on my door, and she didn't have to do anything for it. Like, she didn't have to accept it from somebody. There wasn't no, like, you know, nobody was dropping it off. It was just really nice, and she got to come home to it. So that That's my suggestion. Or setting up a meal train so that they don't have to think about it.
My suggestion is fuzzy socks to go along with your nap.
It's great. I love the nap idea, like, and no guilt with that. That's good. Are there any other questions? Okay. It says, my father died a couple of months ago from colorectal cancer, and I really miss him during the holidays. How can I honor his memory? It's a really good one. Go Kathy.
I think that talking about them is always a great way to honor them. You know, remember the good times that you had. Remember when they did this. Remember when they did that. I think some people don't want to bring it up because they're afraid that they'll make people sad. But I really think it helps to talk about your loved ones after they've passed away. And there's always, donations to, whatever organizations they were interested in. If you want to make a more lasting statement, those are my suggestions.
I think ornaments or establishing traditions, especially if there have been traditions that were in the family, not giving those traditions up just because that individual is no longer with you, is a great way to honor them. And so I think those are just some ideas that I would suggest. It's okay to celebrate. I think giving yourself permission to do that is important.
We started a tradition the year I was going through treatment with my family. My grandpa passed away right after my first chemo, and we, not from a cancer, but to honor him, we started every year, instead of giving each other gifts, we started collecting money and we donate it to a breast cancer charity every year, or we've donated it to a different charity that has really spoken to us for the year. So it's a way that we kind of honor him, because he was constantly doing work with his church, and it's a tradition now that we have in place that kind of honors him.
Nice. Are there any other questions? I don't see any other questions in the Q&A. If not, then I'm going to turn it back over to Crystal. Again, thanks everyone for participating and joining us today. And again, to all the panelists for all of this wonderful information.
Thank you, Rochelle. Those were some awesome questions, and I learned a lot today. So thank you to the panelists. Thank you to the viewers for coming and spending this time with us. If there's not any more questions, thank you for being a part of Hope and Health for the Holidays, and we hope you have a great day. Bye, everyone.
Oh, Crystal, we had a question. Will this be available to people who are not able to attend? Will this recording be available?
Yes. So right after this, I believe Kelly will be preparing it to put it on our PCAT page, and we'll share it with you also, Rochelle.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much.
All righty. Everybody have a great day.